Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
College football season is back, Rodney. Well, sort of. The annual SEC Football Media Days return to Hoover this week. All 14 teams in the Southeastern Conference represented by their head coaches and 3 players. And they're meeting with the media throughout the week. We got a little video from today. You know, Rod, I was over there all day yesterday. Be back tomorrow. Greg Sankey, the commissioner. Yesterday, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Florida. Today, we had 4 more teams, including Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. More on that in a moment. Tomorrow is Alabama's day, and we got plenty to talk about here on Tider Insider TV. And with that, we say welcome back in. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris, and tonight, we've been going with the Wild Cherry, just regular Diet Pepsi tonight, because you know what? We got enough flavor with all these teams in Hoover, so we're just going to go regular Diet Pepsi. Remember to pick up some great Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store from Buffalo Rock. Rodney, as I mentioned, 4 teams took to the mics today in Hoover, and that means that former Alabama defensive coordinator Kirby Smart was there with the Georgia Bulldogs. Zach Tigert has been in Hoover all day long covering it for us, and he joins us with a look at how former Crimson Tide defensive coordinator is adjusting to his new role as head coach of the Bulldogs.
Guys, Kirby Smart is no stranger to the SEC, but he is a stranger to SEC Media Days. And ever since accepting the head coaching job at the University of Georgia, the hype surrounding the Bulldogs has been at an all-time high. One reason for that hype is due to Smart's deep ties with the university, having played for the Bulldogs in the late 90s and later serving as an assistant coach for his alma mater. Another reason, and perhaps the more obvious reason, is that Smart has won 4 national championships while spending 11 years working for current Alabama head coach Nick Saban. One thing Coach Smart wants to make sure, however, is that the two are different men and different coaches.
I don't think I can be who he is, and I certainly have some differences, and I've got to find that medium and that balance that I'm happy with. I'm certainly thankful for the opportunity he gave me, and the career I've had to this point, is a lot of the credit is to him, and it's been a big part of my learning process. And looking forward, I've got to, do my own thing and be my own person, and that's important to me. Number one thing I'd like to take is some of those players, but a lot of those guys are gone to the NFL.
And Alabama's day at Media Days is tomorrow, and it's a safe bet that Alabama head coach Nick Saban will be asked a question or two on his former top assistant, Kirby Smart. Until then, reporting live from Hoover for Tider Insider, I'm Zach Tigert. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Zach, and I'll be with you and the entire WVUA 23 sports team tomorrow for full coverage of Alabama's turn in Hoover at 5, 6, and 10 right here on WVUA 23. Rodney, let me bring you in. Let's because Alabama is tomorrow, and Kirby Smart is the longtime defensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide, moving over to his alma mater to be the head coach at Georgia. Let's get your thoughts. Obviously, he has knowledge of the conference, number one. He's worked under Nick Saban, so he knows what it's like to have a blueprint for success. And I want to know what you expect from him in his first season. One thing I do like is, he's going to have the blueprint from Saban, but he's making it clear that he's his own man and his own coach. I know he hasn't coached in a game yet, and there's a lot of hype. What do you look for out of Georgia in this first year?
Well, I had not seen that interview, that comment from Kirby, but I was going to say before I saw that I thought the biggest thing he could do, he's got to be his own person. He's got to be his own coach, got to have his own personality. He can't go over there and try to imitate Nick Saban. And I thought, really what he said there was really important because he understands that. And, because there's articles right now, Gary, already calling Georgia the new Alabama. I mean, how about letting Kirby Smart coach a game first? I mean, this is a huge adjustment. I mean, I've talked to a lot of head coaches around college football, and they talk about coaching at a major program, and they say one of the most difficult things is when you have a program of the magnitude, say, of Georgia, and you don't have experience as a head coach, you see things that you've never seen before, obviously, because you've never been a head coach. So I think this is not only an adjustment in terms of becoming a head coach, but he's going from, basically just an assistant defensive coordinator to coach in one of the top programs, not only in the SEC, but let's be honest, Georgia's one of the best programs in the country when you're talking about what potential that program has.
Well, Nick Saban has said he thinks it's the best job in the SEC. Yeah. Georgia, not Alabama, not Florida, not LSU, but Georgia. One thing to keep in mind, too, Rodney, is, though, that he did work for Nick Saban. And I know Coach Saban is seen as this taskmaster, and he does want to win, but he is genuinely happy for his assistants when they get an opportunity to be a head coach. We saw it with McElwain. McElwain talked about it yesterday when he first went to Colorado State. Coach Saban said, most important thing is be yourself. Take what you've learned here at Alabama, but be yourself. And I think he talks with these guys when they take these jobs and gives them advice and wants to see them succeed. And, as you said, hey, man, you got to get it done on the field. Everybody loves Kirby Smart right now. They lose that opener against North Carolina, it'll turn in a hurry. But I think he's prepared. I think the timing is right. I think he's going to do a good job. Now, whether they win the SEC championship in his first year, I don't know. But I think he'll get it done there long term. I do.
Yeah, and I think one of the most difficult tasks that Kirby Smart has, Gary, is they fired a coach that was – or let me rephrase that. Mark Richt resigned, stepped down. He was very successful.
Won 9 games last year.
Yeah, he was a guy that over 15 years won 10 games a year, appeared in the SEC championship once every 3 years. If they're looking for better than that, that's going to be tough to top. And now you're giving that to a young guy who's never been a head coach.
They're looking for that first natty since 1980.
Yeah.
Herschel says he can still play in the NFL. Can he get? He's got 1 year of eligibility left. Technically, he left early. Yeah. Maybe he'll come back to Georgia. Well, still to come on Tighter Insider Television. The watch list keep rolling in, and apparently Alabama has a lot to watch. We'll have the latest on the Butkus Award. Plus, Alabama is likely to lose its third player to a transfer this summer. We'll discuss the impact on the Crimson Tide defense potentially. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the information posted on your screen as always. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. That's the phone number. You can email us at the address you see there on your screen, or you can reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tighter Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. We'll return right after this timeout. Alabama continues to feature top linebacker units each season. 2016, that won't change. The Crimson Tide linebacking core, something else. They got 3 guys on the Butkus Award watch list. Ryan Anderson, Reuben Foster, and Tim Williams are all on the list. Those 3 make it 19 times that an Alabama player has been listed on one of these preseason award watch lists. That's talent, folks. Big-time talent. That's how you win games and championships. And welcome back to Tighter Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. So it looks like Alabama's linebacking core, Rodney, is in good shape. However, the Tide did lose a promising linebacker last week. Redshirt freshman Adonis Thomas, out of the state of Georgia, is transferring over to Senatobia, Mississippi, Northwest Mississippi Community College. Thomas was a top prospect in Nick Saban's 2015 class, so you know him well. He's on the move. Why, in your opinion, first of all, is he leaving, and does this have any impact on Alabama's linebacking core going forward?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly why he's leaving. I thought when I watched him in the spring, Gary, he had gotten a little bit bigger. It was clear to me he was a bit undersized in terms of his weight, needed to get bigger and stronger. And, again, exactly why he didn't feel like he fit in. Kirby Smart recruited him over in Georgia. And Jeremy Pruitt, now the defensive coordinator, really didn't seem to recruit him very hard when he was at Georgia.
And that brings up an interesting point, Rodney. After 1 year at Northwest Mississippi, he'll be recruitable again. Would it shock you if he wound up at Georgia down the road?
No, and it would not shock me if he ended up at South Carolina either, because you remember he was originally committed to Will Muschamp at Florida.
Sure was.
So keep an eye on that.
Watch out for Georgia and South Carolina as potential landing spots. He's still got a year of junior college football to play, though, this time in 2016. Back to media days we go, Rodney. Yesterday, the commissioner, Greg Sankey, met with media to discuss kind of the state of the conference. A number of things surrounding the SEC were on the agenda. One of the issues he addressed was punishment and whether the SEC is considering adopting a unifying policy for all the universities in the conference to follow when faced with student-athlete misconduct.
We've adopted a transfer misconduct policy, so we've instituted that on a conference-wide basis. There are conversations, but there's a recognition that our universities make independent decisions. They are their own body. They're part of the Southeastern Conference, and that's the appropriate place as a result of those conversations.
All right, Rodney, so part of this comes up in reference to Jeffrey Simmons, obviously, at Mississippi State. He's been admitted there. Sankey says each school will make their own decisions regarding discipline. I want to get your take here. I think that's still the best way to do it. I don't like the conference saying this is the way it's going to be done regardless. I think every situation is different, and every school deserves the right and the opportunity to gauge that for themselves. Like in Mississippi State's case, Simmons, the highly touted defensive end from Knoxville County, seen on video, hitting a woman several times. They make a decision to admit him. That's their decision, in my opinion, and not the conference's to make for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for the most part, these schools do make good decisions in terms of when they have these types of situations, the decisions that they make and whether they admit them or not. I think generally, Gary, they do make good decisions, because let's be honest, a lot of these coaches, their reputations are on the line. So you remember how much Nick Saban, the grief he caught when Jonathan Taylor, that situation, he allowed Jonathan Taylor to sign with Alabama after he'd already had issues at Georgia and had been dismissed from that program. And then, he got in the same kind of situation here. And certainly it's those are the types of situations as a coach you generally try to steer away from. But again, I understand why you give a guy a second opportunity also.
I do too, and Saban has said it, and it's what we're talking about. Basically, every situation is different.
That's exactly right.
And you have to judge them on their particular merits or lack thereof, but you can't, I just think, have a blanket policy.
Well, and I'll say this too. People out there, the media, whoever it might be, they don't know all the facts.
That's right.
There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that nobody's really ever aware of. And I'll give you a great situation. How about DJ Petway? He was dismissed from Alabama. He went over to the community college, East Mississippi Community College in Scuba. He did an outstanding job over there. He stayed in constant contact with the administration here at Alabama, gave them regular updates of his progress over there, along with the coaching staff over there and the chancellor of that school. And he got a second opportunity, and look what he did with it.
He made the most of it.
He made the most of it.
As Jim Morrow once said, the head coach of the Colts and the Saints, you think you know, talking to the media, you think you know, but you don't know, and you never will.
That's right.
Now, I don't know if that's true, but it just seemed appropriate to throw it in right there. Still to come, an Alabama commitment shined at the opening in Beaverton, Oregon. We'll have details on the latest showcase MVP from that big event. Yeah, he's going to roll with the Tide. But up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Once again, the information is on your screen. Hey, it's SEC Media Days week. I know you want to talk some ball. Talking some ball. Give us a call, 205-348-9882. We'll be back with more Tider Insider TV. Right here, right now on WVUA 23. The top high school football players in the country battled on the field right outside the Nike headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon for the annual opening. And Alabama commit Tua Tagovailoa was the star of the show. The quarterback from Honolulu led his team vapor to the opening championship game and the MVP award in the process. They won the championship. Tagovailoa becomes the first player to win Elite MVP and the opening MVP in the same year. Rod, we're going to get some phone calls, but I mean, tell you what, still got to sign him in April. I mean, this kid looks like the real deal, buddy.
February.
Yeah, what am I saying, April? I want to move it back. In February, but still, he looks like the real deal.
Yeah, no, he really does. I mean, he's a guy that, and I think, Gary, not only his talent, but the things that he brings, the intangibles, he has a magnetism about him that draws the players to him, and he just exudes with confidence, I think. And, he put on an outstanding performance. Again, it's 7-on-7. He didn't have a rush in his face, but it's clear that he's an outstanding talent.
Yeah, some of those throws in tight windows, impressive. All right, let's go to the phone lines. First up tonight, Dale in Moundville. Welcome in, Dale. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not much, guys. Roll Tide. All this media talk of college football really gets you excited about
it. Does.
But I see Alabama really does have an uphill battle with their away schedule. But with that being said, a lot of folks is saying that Alabama's not as strong or deep on the defensive line as they have been in the past. So I just wonder, Jamar King, have y'all heard, is he on campus, and is he playing? And if he is, can y'all kind of talk about him a little bit? How he could help Alabama?
Sure, Dale. Jamar King, of course, outstanding defensive lineman from a California junior college who signed Gary this past February, and they were hoping that he would be here in June but his didn't graduate, so he's continuing to finish up his degree there at the junior college. It's hoped that he'll be here, for August camp, and I think that's the expectation. He's an outstanding player. He's a little bit older. He's an interesting
like 23,
story.
24, isn't he?
He's 26.
So 26.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's older.
Military guy, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, he worked after high school. He's got ties to the state of Alabama. Grew up in Detroit, Michigan, so ended up in California. So real interesting story. But he's a talent now. I'm telling you, it came down to Alabama and Ohio State, and Urban Meyer, he can really evaluate players. But I think he's an outstanding player if they've just got to get him here on campus.
Yeah, hopefully he'll make it. All right, let's go to Brent and talk with Rick. Rick, welcome into TITV.
How are y'all tonight?
Doing good, Rick. What's up, buddy?
Great. Listen, I know this is old, but I was watching the Kick Six, unfortunately, and I saw a clip at the Auburn 20, number 24, clip number 77. I wonder why no one ever talks about it.
Oh, buddy. How many times have you watched that game, Rick, already? About 100?
Just one.
Just really?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, there's so many plays in that game, as is the case in any Iron Bowl when it's, winds up like that. That whole fourth quarter, I thought Alabama had some questionable calls that went against them. On the kick six, I'd have to go back and look at it again. 77's Ari Kwanjo, I know that. I'd have to see if there was a clip. Wouldn't surprise me. There was so much going on in that play. But I do know this, Rick. It's disappointing. It's always going to be disappointing, but it's never going to be changed. It's going to be 34-28, Auburn winning over Alabama from now until eternity.
Yep, sure is. And I always wondered, did he step out of bounds? I mean, it was really close.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Auburn won the game.
It's a tough one, and they did. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to be back with more phone calls and emails and tweets as this edition of TITV, SEC Media Days edition, rolls on. Again, there's the numbers on the screen. And I tell you what, John Michael, if you're holding, stay with us. We'll get to you first up when we come back right here on WVUA 23. New Bama baseball coach Greg Goff has a coaching staff in place. The athletic department has recently announced the hiring of Terry Rooney as the associate head coach. Rooney was the head coach at Central Florida for the past 8 seasons, took him to a couple NCAA regionals. He'll also serve as pitching coach for the Crimson Tide. Rooney has SEC experience, and it's big-time SEC experience. He is a former pitching coach at LSU. All right, let's get right back to the phone lines. John Michael's been holding down in Moundville. Thanks for your patience, John Michael. What's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing. How y'all gentlemen doing tonight?
Doing great.
How do y'all think the men's basketball team is going to be this year?
Well, John Michael, I think they're going to be better, and they were pretty good last year. You go back, I've said this before, Rodney, we've talked about it here on the show, 5 or 6 games to go in the SEC schedule. They were in line to make it into the NCAA tournament and didn't get it done down the stretch. But got some good players coming in. Another year in the system under Avery Johnson. Bringing in John Pelfrey, I think, will help. I said this before. I'm not saying that it's my expectation, but I believe that they'll be in the hunt for an NCAA tournament berth again, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they made it.
Yeah, me either, Gary. I think, you watched last year, you saw how competitive they were, and we've talked about they were outmanned in most of the SEC games, but they really competed hard, and as you said, they were on the verge of getting in, and I think this year he's getting closer to getting the roster together that he wants. I'm interested in seeing some of these guys play, and I think he's going to even continue to recruit better and better as we move along.
Yeah, I love the way they're going, the direction they're headed in. All right, let's go to Anderson and talk with Hal. What's up, Hal?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
You, man, tell me.
I want to ask you, Rodney, man, it just seems like with Kirby Smart going to Georgia, that recruiting is just getting to be cutthroat, man. I just want to ask y'all, it seems like whenever Alabama offers a kid or, a kid commits to Alabama, it looks like the other schools just ramp it up, man.
Well, Hal, I don't think Kirby Smart going to Georgia has got anything to do with that. It's been that way for a while. I think after Coach Saban's first big recruiting class, in 2008, his second one, his first full class, it's been that way since then. If Alabama recruits a kid, everybody wants him because they trust Saban's evaluation. And once Alabama gets a kid committed, it is, a lot of times they gang up on the Tide, but Saban wins most of the battles.
I didn't hear his question, so I didn't.
He just said it looks like with Kirby Smart going to Georgia, it's even ramped up more in recruiting. And I said,
and I think it's going to continue to do that. It's not just, again, Kirby Smart. I think every year it gets more and more difficult, and, it's very, very competitive. You look at some of the schools around the SEC and how they've amped up their recruiting over the last few years, it just gets more and more difficult.
All right, Reg in Birmingham, we got to go fast. What's up, man?
Oh, I wanted your comments on why the exodus of so many Alabama football players, and has Tennessee passed Alabama in recruiting?
All right, what was the first part again?
Why have we lost so many football players to Alabama?
Okay.
I mean,
all right, Reg.
many
Yeah,
of them.
had a few transfers just because there's so many talented players here, and a lot of times these guys look at the depth chart, and I don't think that they've lost that many when you look at around the country. But there's some of these guys, they get here and they're saying, "Whoo, I'm behind this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy." So I think that has something to do.
And
with
I think every time an Alabama player leaves, you talked about how highly regarded they are. So most of them have big names, and it makes headlines every time something happens at Alabama. Whereas at other schools, you may not hear it as much. So
Yeah.
I just think it gets more publicized. Is Tennessee past Alabama in
No.
recruiting? Absolutely not.
They're doing a good job, and nobody's passed Alabama in recruiting, Reg, but they're trying. All right, still to come, Haley McClenny's softball stardom didn't end when she graduated from Alabama. The former Crimson Tide outfielder is showcasing her skills at the next level. We'll have the latest when we come back. And also, thanks for all those phone calls and emails. We'll be back with more TITV right after this. Haley McClenny is now a professional softball player. Alabama's all-time batting average leader, signed a 3-year deal with the Florida Pride of the National Pro Fast Pitch League. She capped off a silver medal run with Team USA at the World Cup of Softball. She hit 407 starts with 3 extra base hits. She's really good. Her former teammate Jacqueline Traynor also competed with Team USA, allowing just 1 run in 3 1/3 innings in the circle. All right, that is going to do it for Tider Insider TV for this week. Before we go, though, Rodney and I outfitted as always in beautiful shirts and ties from the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. Go by and see Alex Gatewood and Rush and the courteous staff, or you can shop online at their website, locker-room.biz. I'm telling you, they're getting cranked up for football season. They got some great inventory. Check it out right now at the Locker Room, downtown Tuscaloosa. And if you missed the show, you can catch it again tonight at 10:30 right here on WVUA 23, an encore presentation, or to be available anytime on our website, WVUA23.com. So for Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching TITV. Have a great night. SEC Media Days continues tomorrow. We will be there with plenty of coverage on WVUA 23. Good night.